Cast is now starting. All attendees are in listening mode.
Welcome to today's Internet Helpline session with your hosts, Steve Wright and Christy Filion.
Good morning, everyone. It's Steve Wright here from Success Website. Happy New Year to everyone, and everyone's back to work hard, I'm sure, today. Today we've got Christy Filion with us, and we are going to talk about how we can crank up our marketing online for 2016. And we're going to try and take lots of questions today. I know Christy's got some great ideas to start us off. And so if you've got questions, a couple ways to do it. You can either raise your hand, and we'll see if we can get you on live. But also, if you've got questions, I'm going to monitor the chat, and we'll try and get to as many questions as we can. How are you today, Christy?
Good. I'm great, Steve. Thanks for asking. How are you?
I'm doing excellent.
Excellent, yes.
New year.
I know.
Don't know if Craig's going to join us, but we'll see.
We'll see. You never know. Sometimes
Never know.
he just appears from thin air. Just.
Okay, well, what's going on? I know you've got control of the screen here. What's going on in the internet marketing world these days?
Well, I've got a new blog post here that I wanted to share with everybody. This is part of a new series that we've launched this year, and it's called Real Estate Success Stories. And it's basically an interview with either myself or you, Steve, with somebody in the program who is just crushing it, in one way or another. This particular blog post is for Blake Corey. He is out of Murrieta, California, and I'm sure many of you on the call are familiar with his story. But he has really sort of cracked the code with our help, actually. That's been a bit of trial and error, but on how to generate tons of leads on Facebook. So if you're not familiar with Facebook advertising, or maybe you've struggled to get some footing with your Facebook advertising, this is definitely worth your time to read. We also have full audio interview here, and you can listen to the audio by using the player. It is an MP3. I think you can download that if you want. Otherwise, you can just listen to it, stream it directly through the page. And we're also going to have a live training session on Wednesday with Blake on how to do some of the stuff. So you can get on that training session. It is free. It is on the 13th at 1:30 Eastern Time, so you can get on that. And yeah, I would love to hear any comments, feedback, anything that you'd like to share with us would be great. So please jump on over there. I did post a link in the chat section here, so you can get to the post that way, and let us know what you think.
Okay, yeah, lots of great stuff in there. I noticed that someone painstakingly transcribed the audio as well, so if you'd rather read it,
That's right.
You can go and read through the audio as opposed to listening to it. You might be able to do it faster, but one of the things I think that's really important, and you'll hear it in that interview, and I know we'll get into it again on the call with Blake on Wednesday, is the process of how you get to be successful with a campaign. Now, as you go through it, you'll hear that Blake, from day one, wasn't generating as many leads as he is now. It's a process to build a successful campaign, and maybe you can just talk a little bit about that, Christy, in terms of how people get started, and how those campaigns grow.
Right. It is a process. There are certain situations where we'll set up, like a foreclosure campaign and just get tons of leads right out of the gate. Even in that situation where we're generating lots of leads, usually there's something that we have to adjust or tweak or tune to get better results. Maybe we're getting lots of leads, but they're from outside of the area. Maybe we're getting lots of leads, but their buying criteria is completely unrealistic. So there's always steps that we have to take to fine-tune the campaign. In Blake's situation, I believe we started off perhaps with a foreclosure distress campaign. I think we were trying a variety of ad versions, different photos and things, and we finally found the formula that really hit the right chord with Blake's audience, and that's what we're going to explore on Wednesday, during the webinar. But it does take time, and I think sometimes people think when they sign up for the program that they're just going to get tons of leads, right? That's the expectation. Just by having a website, you're going to get all these leads. I mean, the fact of the matter is, it's marketing isn't about just turning on a switch and getting leads. You have to find your ideal target market. You have to find the right message to market match. You have to find the right language, the right offer to make to that group. So all of these steps are things that we're willing and here to help you with. But what many of our, especially the new guys, I know that a lot of people on this call, you've been in the program for a while, so you've probably had this experience, this trial and error experience before. But if you're brand new, it can be discouraging, it can be overwhelming, it can be disheartening because you think that everything should be working right away and it's not. So I think that these stories are really valuable just to kind of put things into perspective for everybody, and so you understand that you're not alone. I mean, everyone goes through these situations, but once you find that cornerstone campaign, that one that is generating that steady stream, then you've got something, right? You've got something that you can just put on autopilot, and now you can move on to other campaigns, start layering on different media, different offers and things to start diversifying, what you're doing online. So
yeah, that makes complete sense, Christy. I think that the idea that you have to find, like we can suggest lots of places to start, but the trick is to actually get that message to keep refining that message to get to the point where you're very successful with it. And I know, but Blake, as you said, Blake started with a standard distress sale campaign, but didn't get great results with that. Moved that to a sort of a newer version of a first-time buyer campaign and started to get more leads with that, and then was able to start customizing that for specific neighborhoods or areas that he wants to work, specific price ranges, all the different things, and continually able to refine and refine and refine, which is exactly the same process that Craig used for years developing all these ads. He would try different campaigns and would move forward with that to try and get more people to view it, more people interested, and then refine his process to go. And the idea was that you would be able to, after a little bit of time, Craig was able to develop 3 or 4 what he called sort of keystone or cornerstone campaigns that he knew he could run every month and would generate a consistent number of leads each and every month, and was able to base all his marketing and have consistent results every month because of those sort of cornerstone campaigns.
yes.
So, okay, well, why don't we, when you talk about cornerstone campaigns, maybe there's something, do you have anything you can show us, sort of to give us an idea about where people might start with what are the sort of cornerstone campaigns that people might start with?
Right. So I think that especially if you're advertising, if you're using Google and Facebook as your primary media outlets, your cornerstone campaign is usually going to be a buyer's campaign. So that is something that is offering either a hot list of homes or information for buyers specifically to get started with finding their next home or their first home online. So I think that if your goal is just to get some leads and to fill up the pipeline and get some activity in the system, then going with a buyer's campaign is definitely the way to start. So I mentioned earlier, and we always hear, that the foreclosure distress hot list is one of the most popular campaigns. The reason being that buyers are typically very interested in getting a deal and finding those deep discounts and those opportunities to maybe save a few $1,000s. It also presents that element of scarcity, which I think works to our advantage because, as we know, it's not difficult to find listings online. You can do a search, and within minutes you've got about 6 or 7 websites there to provide listings for free. There's no request for information or anything like that. But when you offer a very specific list of homes, that to the consumer, and as consumers, we're always looking for the discounts, for the sale price, for anything that presents a deal. So when they see an ad for the foreclosure distress property hot list, that triggers that, that activates that need to find the deal, and people will often opt in for that hot list. So that usually is definitely, I would say that's probably one of our most popular cornerstone or keystone campaigns. That's just year after year we see a ton of leads coming in from that campaign. Now, what can happen is if you're in a certain marketplace where perhaps buyers are more savvy or the offer is just not working, we've set it up and it's just not working as well as we would expect it to, then we have to start looking at, okay, what are the other types of hot lists that we can provide? Can we provide a hot list of homes with pools? Are buyers, especially move-up buyers in our area, really interested in a home with a pool? Or are we better off offering, a hot list of homes for low money down for first-time home buyers? Because we know that the first-time home buyers are struggling to find homes that they can afford. And we know that there are government programs in place to assist those buyers to get a home. So usually if you can find a need, we like to call it sort of like the bleeding neck element that people are really looking for, like if you can find a real need in your marketplace that needs to be fulfilled, then usually that can be your cornerstone and keep that consistent, steady stream of leads coming in. So any type of hot list campaign is usually very good. Of course, if you have our HDX platform, that is our listing portal, then that whole platform is built on providing a hot list of homes. And I'll show you all what that looks like. I'll bring it up. I'll actually bring up Blake's site here in a second. But we've been using HDX a lot to generate leads for our clients. We've often found that if the standard landing page doesn't work, then we turn to the HDX and we start to basically give people direct access to the listings in exchange for their contact information. So
okay,
give me 2 seconds here. I'm going to bring that up here.
Yeah. The idea with HDX is not only can you advertise or promote a hot list to generate leads, the HDX system will automatically deliver that hot list for you, as well as automatic updates to the list as you go. So just while you're bringing that up, Christy, one of the things that we do have a question from Gail. Gail asks, when I get a lead and talk to them about buying a new home, should I get them to do a buyer-broker agreement before telling them about a home?
Okay. That seems a little heavy-handed to me, to be honest. I think that especially when it comes to online leads, you still have to get them to that know, like, and trust period before you can expect them to meet with you, sign anything, really do anything. And by not giving them information, by holding back, I don't think that's going to help you get to that stage.
Right.
So when you're first interacting with people online, it's better to be generous and almost go out of your way to give information. Like, don't hold back, because they don't trust you, right? They don't know you, and you have to get to that period before they're going to be working with you.
Right. I think it makes sense before you start trucking them all over your area, looking at homes.
Yes.
At that point, absolutely, you'd like to have your agreement signed.
Right.
And that's the kind of thing. Obviously, if you follow Craig's follow-up script, which you can find in the MyLead CRM, maybe we can go in and look at that after we go through Blake's. You'll see in the script the idea is to determine what their motivation and timing is, and then find a way to move them along in the process, whether that's getting a list of their buyer criteria or doing a home evaluation, whatever that process is. And that's the time to move forward with either a buyer agreement or a listing agreement. But certainly when they're first asking for a report or information on a property or a list of homes, I don't think as you said, I think it's a bit heavy-handed, and you're just going to scare these people away.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just, as far as your mindset is concerned, I think that if you come from a place of giving and generosity where, you're happy to help people, then they're more likely to reciprocate and respond to that. But I totally agree, Steve. You don't want to be taking people around and showing them homes without that agreement. I mean, obviously, I think that is a reasonable expectation. But when you are first following up with these leads, you can expect, 3 to 4, maybe 5 touches before you even get to that point where you're meeting with them.
Especially if you're, remember, a lot of the lead generation is coming from either unbranded or less branded campaigns. So if you generate a lead, let's say you generate a lead through this Riverside County Homes for Sale page, this is a less branded site. They don't even know who you are yet. Like, there's no obvious reference. So if they request the list of properties, obviously they can request any of these hot lists, and you can run ads to generate leads to any of these hot lists as well. But again, if you're generating leads, as we're recommending, whenever you advertise, you're using a less branded approach in your ads and in your landing pages, you're going to do much better. But again, if you're right away trying to move them to sign a buyer agreement with you on the first call and they don't even know you, you're not going to have a lot of luck, and you are just going to, their advertising and selling flags are going to go up right away, and you're going to scare them off.
Yeah. I mean,
okay. Why don't we show people and explain what HDX is and how it works?
Okay. So we've got our HDX site here. This is Blake's HDX site, and you'll notice, of course, on the right-hand side, we've got all of these property hot lists. It looks like he's trying some campaigns for veteran homes here as well. So this is the idea, is to manipulate the MLS data and collect, create our own little collection of homes or hot list of homes that fit a very specific need or demographic. And you can see some examples with the luxury properties, first-time buyer properties, single-family homes, foreclosures, 0 to low down payment properties, homes with pools. So this is just a sample of what we can do, but he's branching out into veteran and military homes. So if you can think of a category of property or a type of home or even a subdivision that's really popular that you want to market, this is what the HDX is for. We can put together that list of homes and present that to your target audience. And if you've got the message to market match right, then they're going to respond to that. They're going to want it. and that's when you hook them in with the hot list, but then obviously require them to sign up in order to receive the information. And then once they get in and receive it, you can fulfill the request, right? You fulfill your obligation to send them property. You don't have to do that manually, right? Otherwise, you would have to put together this list and send it out and get that to them. This way, they get in right away, they're happy, they're searching, they're doing their thing, and then the system is following up with them. It's sending them updates to the list. It's sending them new properties when they become available. And you get that back and forth starting, where now you see they're coming back to the website and they're engaging in the website and they're using it. And that really is very beneficial, especially with these online leads that tend to bounce around quite a bit. They're on a lot of different sites, and usually the agent that can get to them the quickest and fulfill their request and get them what they need and be consistent with that, they're the ones that win the business. So this is really just
Can you just back up a second here? I got a few questions that are coming here, and I've got a couple of questions from Ellen and Sarah that I want to get to as well. If we can go back to the home page. Okay, so this is basically a customized MLS portal that we've set up for Blake.
That's correct.
So what we would do for you is we would identify your MLS and we would set up your own portal that basically has all the listings in your MLS. It's an IDX site. Now, but what we've done that's different from most IDXs is we've grouped the homes into hot lists. And if you look down the page here, on the right, you've got a whole list of the property hot list by area, so Menifee, Murrieta, Temecula, Winchester. Featured hot lists are on the left side, again, so those are lists of homes. So you can pick within those hot lists whether you want to target luxury properties. So the luxury properties in Menifee might be a list of properties that's over, I'll just pick a number, 700,000 in Menifee. Maybe it's less. The first-time buyer properties might be a list of properties that's under 350,000. Single-family homes is something we can do. Foreclosures, zero-down properties, so zero-down, again, might be under a certain price range. Homes with pools, etc. So we can set up specific lists of properties. Now, if we click on one, why don't we click on the first-time buyer properties? And just go through there. Okay, so what you get there is you get a list of properties that meet that criteria. So in this case, it's properties priced from $50,000 to $350,000 in Menifee. So you can go through and you can look at the list. Now, for anybody that hasn't registered here, when they start clicking on homes to view the details, they're going to get prompted to register. Okay, so if we pick a property right away, they can't see all the details of the properties without the site collecting their information. So we'll collect their first name, email, phone number, etc., and then they can click the button, and then they'll get access to the details. So once we've been able to verify their information, we could basically send them, they'll get access to that information. So we've been able to use this HDX site as a way to generate leads. Now, on the other side, there's two ways to generate leads. We could run a campaign we could run a Facebook ad, and this is what Blake is doing. He's running a Facebook ad promoting one of his specific lists. So he runs a Facebook ad. I think the initial one was Temecula homes that are available for whatever it is, $3,000, $2,000 down, which again is a list of homes in a specific price range in a specific area. When they fill in that, there's two ways to do that. You can either take them directly to the list from the ad, in which case as they start looking at homes, they'll have to fill in their contact information, or what is getting better results is we just send them to a landing page, and once they fill in the information on the landing page, okay, there's the landing page. So Blake would run a Facebook ad, and we would do the same thing for you. We'd set up the campaign. We'd decide which of these hot lists you want to promote. So in this case, we've got a very specific list, okay? So the list is Menifee homes for sale, available 2,000 down. So all that is a specific price range. We've added extra qualifying questions here, or Blake has added extra qualifying questions to refine. We're trying to get better quality leads. So they have to make, we want them to make between 50,000 and 96,000. We want them to have a decent credit score. We put a deadline on it. But when they fill in this information, then they're going to get taken right to the HDX site, right to the specific hot list, and we're going to get the contact information so then we can follow up. And that's the process. We then can go into the command center, we can see the leads, and we can follow up as we go. So now I've got a question that's sort of related to that from Ellen. Ellen has an important list of homes that have tax credits. Okay, so if we wanted to create a list of homes with tax credit, we'd create the list, and then we would run an ad. It could be a Google ad, might be a Facebook ad, could be any number of ways we could run an ad, promoting that hot list of homes with tax credits. And then once people fill in the form, we would then redirect them to get the list. Now, Ellen was asking, is there a way we can protect this list? We don't want to give it away too easily. Other agents might want the list as well. My suggestion on that would be that you probably want to put something about that list, about it in the ad, that's only available to qualified prospects, and you would call them all before you would send them the list. And you would you might send them an automated email that says you'll get a call, or you have to, we have to ask you a couple of qualifying questions before. And that's going to decrease the number of leads you get, but if you really want to protect the list, that's one way to do it. The other way would be, look, they can probably find that list anyway, or they don't know how you're getting the list, or that list is going to update. It's not going to be the same all the time. Lots of ways to do that. But it sounds to me it's a very similar campaign. It's a scarcity of homes. There's only a few that qualify for these credits. And much like Blake's ad, where he's advertising homes you can buy for $2,000 down, I think it'd be a really good campaign to try.
I think so too. Yeah, there are certain ways that you can try to protect the list. We do have the ability to not send them directly to the list, to only send it via email. If you have to do phone verification first, then you can do that. There's also ways in the My Leads to remove somebody, and I'll just jump over to that now. If you find, say that you've got a lead here, and you find that either you can't get in touch with them, or perhaps you want to remove them from receiving information, or you want to stop their follow-up plan. If you go into the lead and go into the follow-up section, all you have to do is turn that off. Okay, they will not receive the emails anymore. So that's one way to try to protect the list, or at least stop access to the list. You can also remove the lead altogether. You could go ahead and delete that lead if you want. That means that they're no longer registered for the website. So you can kind of protect your information a little bit that way. But that's a good thing about the HDX site, is it's all dynamic. So it's not like we're sending them, a PDF that's just going to stay there forever. It's a dynamic website that they need to log into and access in order to see the information. So you can always restrict that.
Okay. Now we've got a couple questions about people that okay, they've set up their hot list. How do they go about getting landing pages like the one that Blake has done? I assume that was done through our management program, and maybe you can just talk about how if they want to move to doing those type of custom pages, how do they do that?
Right. So these custom pages, yes, they're developed by our team. We will essentially manage your Facebook and your Google account, which means we're setting up the ads for you, running them for you, having regular calls with you to make sure that they're working, but we're also developing landing pages. So, as we mentioned at the beginning of the call, there usually is a bit of trial and error involved in the beginning when we're setting up our campaigns. A lot of that has to do with the landing page, or the squeeze page, as we sometimes refer to it. So we don't expect our clients to know how to do this. This type of thing is not something that you should be spending time on. This isn't one of those profitable activities for you, at this stage in the program. The profitable activity for you is to get on the phone and be calling your leads and trying to connect with your leads. So our management program is designed to take over those tasks that can often take you tons and tons of time, frustrate the heck out of you because you're not sure what you're doing, and just make you feel like you're not using the system properly. So with us managing your account, we take care of the technical aspects. We also make sure everything is being tracked so we know exactly what our results are. And that way you can focus on following up on the leads. And usually that is the quicker way to get to that cornerstone campaign, because our tests are going to be accelerated. These things are going to be put into motion a lot more quickly than if you were sort of trying to fumble your way through it. So I hope that sums it up, because I think that the real pain, especially in the group that we have today, is implementation, getting these things set up so you can at least get to the point where you're testing and tracking and actually getting some results.
Okay. So if somebody, so basically these landing pages are created. Now I know there is for somebody that says if they're comfortable with sort of doing their own Facebook advertising. Mm-hmm. Is this something we can set up for them? How would they do a trial of management? How does that?
Yeah, so I think that they could certainly do a trial of management. It starts at $150 a month for that. I mean, what we could do is we could basically set up this campaign for you. For the $150, you're not locked in to paying it month after month. You could pay it for 3 or 4 months or 6 months until we get to a campaign that is really working and producing on a regular basis, and then you could take over the management. Once everything is set up, you could essentially go into Facebook and reset your budget and do whatever you need to do to keep those ads going. But I would say, if you want us to set this up for you, then you don't have to pay for a course. You just have to pay us to set it up for you, manage it for a few months, and then you're at least going to be getting some leads, right? So if I know that some people like to understand how these things work, they like to kind of understand the inner workings of these campaigns, and we're always willing to share that with you. So it's not like we are setting everything up within a black box and you don't see what's happening. You actually have access to your account. You can see how we've set up the campaigns. It's all there for you to see. And if you choose to take over the management, then that's fine. There's no big deal. It's you would just pay your regular hosting fee and you wouldn't have to pay the $150 a month anymore.
Okay. Okay. Now there's a couple of people asking about what their budget should be if they start mm-hmm. running Google or Facebook ads. Maybe you can comment about that.
Yes. Well, this is important, right? So we do need a budget. We do need to get traffic to your website. So I would say that to start, you would be at a $10 per day budget. So that means that we're either putting $10 a day into Facebook or $10 a day into Google to get enough visitors to your website to generate some leads. So these Facebook campaigns, they don't work on their own. You have to have eyeballs. You got to have people seeing those ads, clicking on those ads, going to your landing page. And without enough eyeballs, you're not going to generate any leads. So, you know, $10 to start, that's around a $300 a month investment. And I usually set, you know, I'm pretty optimistic. I try to keep our cost per lead to around $10. So if you're generating, or if you're spending $300 a month, you should be generating anywhere between, you know, 25 to 35 leads a month. And out of those 25 to 35 leads a month, let's say you convert one of them. Okay, that one deal is going to pay for everything, you know, many times over. So that is a realistic expectation. Now the reality is we've got people like Blake, we've got people like all sorts of coaching members, platinum members we've had for years and years, who are generating way more than 30 leads a month. Like they're generating hundreds, and they're closing a lot of those deals as well. So, you know, the math makes absolute sense, and I think you should really focus on that, because it's easy to be nervous about marketing budgets to start, but you have to spend that, you know, in order to get those leads, and if you can convert just one out of the 30, then it makes complete economic sense. So it's not setting the bar too high, really, but if you're not getting the traffic, then you're really, you know, you don't have anything to work on or work from.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Now, what about people that, got another question about people asking, leaving phony phone numbers. How do you deal with those people when you're following up?
There's, I mean, you can use, I think White Pages is a system you can use, an online system. You can look up people's names and see if you can find a correct phone number for them, so you can cross-reference that. The reality is some people just aren't going to be willing to leave their phone number, or they'll leave their phone number and they'll never pick up their phone, because they'll see an unknown number come up on their call display and they won't want to pick up the phone. So in those situations, you got to work with what you have, which is usually email. So if you've got their email, you can go in, and I'll just do a quick demo here actually, because I think this is useful. We see this more and more, phone numbers that aren't valid. So if we go into one of these leads here, let's take this guy for instance, and we see that, you know, we have a phone number, but maybe this phone number is no good. So there's a couple of things we can do. First and foremost, I say always make sure that the lead is on a saved search. If you have the HDX, make sure that lead is set up to get this saved search so you can have them come back to the website. The more engaged they are with your website, the more familiar they are with who you are and the product and what you're offering. So this is something that you'd want to make sure is active. Now, if you're using those squeeze pages, like the HDX squeeze page, this should be active by default and should be going out regardless of whether or not you've set it up. But this follow-up is important. Another thing you can do, and just watch my screen closely here, because there's just a couple of steps you'll want to go through. If you click on the lead's email here, that brings up a blank email within the My Leads, and here you can send them a custom message from the system. So you're not sending them a message from your personal email, you're sending them a message from the system. And I mentioned earlier the you know, kind of that law of reciprocity, and how when you give something, people are more likely to give back or to respond. This is a great way to send something to that prospect from your website, and it's free information. Okay, so if you watch closely here, so I've got the email. First step is to select the website. Now, when you are following up with your leads, you can certainly follow up from a branded site. You've already generated the lead, you've got their information. when you're sending them information, it can be branded. Okay, we're not trying to hide behind the unbranded site anymore. So first step would be to choose your branded, and then the second step is to choose the report. So our site, Success website, comes with a whole library of buyer and seller reports, lots of great content that is wonderful to be able to give to your prospects. In many cases, they're not going to know that this is included in your website. They're going to think, you've put together a report, a custom report for them. So under the report section, you can choose a report. So we know, and if we look at the source up here, okay, we've got Facebook, HDX. We know that this lead came from Facebook. It came from the Menifee 2K down exclusive homes. So these people are buyers, right? They're obviously in the market to buy and looking for information on buying. So you can choose a report that's going to fit their situation. So we've got 13 extra costs to be aware of before buying a home. Okay, if I select that report, it's going to autofill these sections here in the email, which is fine. However, I would recommend that you customize this header a little bit because you want to sound like a real person, right? You don't necessarily want to sound like an auto response. So I would probably get rid of this, and I would say, hi, D, thought you would find this report helpful. By the way, are you looking to move within the area? So my typing is terrible. So it's always a good idea to kind of ask a quick question. Okay, so first we're explaining that we're sending them a report, right? And we're hoping that they find it helpful. And then we're asking a quick question. So you don't have to be, you don't have to write a book. This is just you got to think about the attention span of people when they're looking at their email. So keep it short, keep it to the point. But asking a quick question is a good idea. And then you can go ahead and once you're done this, you just hit send, and that will send off that report. It'll send off your message to the lead, to their email. So if you don't have any other way to connect with that lead, the phone number's not working, you tried texting the number, it's not working, all you have is email, then use the email. But use the email in a smart way. Use it in a deliberate way where you are trying to get a response, trying to connect. Even changing the subject line, you may want to do that, even though the subject line isn't bad. We've got the report title in here, so that's not too bad. So that's something that I would try for sure, and I always recommend that when I'm on the phone with my management clients. Is if you can't reach them by phone, then you just got to try to reach them by email.
Right, and one of the things I think that's important to realize, the idea there is when you're doing that, you're trying to send them a very short, quick message. Looks like it's come from your cell phone. Just trying to engage them, which is why asking a quick question is a really good way to move things forward.
Yes.
Right, so in that example, you sent them a copy of a report, sent them something useful, but the gist of the message was
are you moving within the area? Yeah. Are you moving within the area? Have you made any upgrades to your home? Are schools important to you? Like all sorts of little questions that you would ask in a conversation.
Right.
Right.
Okay. Very good. Now, what about seller leads? I've had a couple of questions asking about how to generate leads for sellers. And how is that different than buyers?
It's different in the sense that sellers are usually they're not as their pain points are very different from buyers online. So if you are just looking for listings online through Google and Facebook, we have a pretty good program. It's the find out what the home down the street sold for. Let me just bring up. Well, this is the IDX. If we go to Blake's unbranded area home prices, I do find that this report people respond to quite well on the seller side through Facebook specifically. Generating seller leads on Google is always tough. It's pretty tough and it's expensive. So if you're willing to spend more for your leads, and I'm talking about $20 a lead to start, then you can try Google for the seller leads. But if you are, say, you want to run some Google ads at a lower cost, but you want to get some sellers, you may be better off running a campaign that offers a hot list of homes that fit a move-up buyer. So you're offering a hot list of homes that have 3+ bedrooms, or a hot list of homes, with a 2-car garage, something that would fit the needs of a move-up buyer who is ultimately going to have a home to sell.
Right.
So that's
maybe you create a hot list of homes for people whose house is too small. And
yeah.
You create an ad that is your house too small?
Right.
We can find a bigger one in your price range. Hot list of homes, and now you're picking a price range that is, or maybe you're generating a list of homes that's, like you said, 3 bedrooms and up, or on a specific lot size. Right? And we can create the hot list, and you can run that campaign.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because out of all of the buyer leads you get, there's going to be, they can't all be first-time home buyers, right? They can't all be just investors. There's definitely going to be some leads in there who have a home to sell.
Well, I'd be shocked if anyone was going to respond to an ad that started off with a headline, "Is your house too small?" I'd be shocked if they didn't have a house. They might be renting, sure, but for the most part, people that are going to respond to that are going to be sellers. And even unless you're targeting a first-time buyer, like the low down payment, those type of homes, yes, they're generally going to attract more first-time buyers, which has the obvious advantage of they're going to close much quicker because they don't have to worry about selling their house to buy a house, which is one of the great things, the great reasons you want to attack, that you can have great success if you need cash. Anything that targets first-time buyers or renters is going to be successful. Mm-hmm. But again, if as soon as you move into higher price ranges, the odds are the people that are looking at those homes already have a house, and they are going to be sellers as well as buyers. But it's often easier just to generate leads. The campaigns that attract buyers tend to generate leads more often.
It's true. It's true, and I know that.
Related to that, Christy, do you find that Facebook or Google, that one of them is better for buyers or sellers?
Facebook is easier to get some sellers. It's easier to attract. It's easier to attract people with a seller's campaign on Facebook. It's cheaper traffic for one, so you're not worried about competing for traffic using those keywords like area home pricing, homes for sale, home evaluation. Those keywords can be very expensive, and you're competing against some very big players with big budgets when it comes to those search terms. Whereas Facebook it's just easier to get cheap traffic. So if you've got a catchy photo and a strong message and a compelling offer, then you probably are better to run those campaigns on Facebook, for sure. Like a FSBO campaign, for instance. I've heard that anything relating to helping people sell their own home, so having a FSBO campaign on Facebook and offering free information to FSBOs, that could be a great way to get sellers.
Okay. Now, is there if someone doesn't have a big budget, are they better to limit themselves to certain days of the week for advertising? Or are there things they can do to
save their costs?
Save their costs?
On their... Sure, yeah, you can limit yourself to certain days, so you only advertise on certain days of the week. That's something that you can do. You can set an ad schedule. I know that you can do this within Google. I think you can do it in Facebook now as well, where you're only showing your ads at certain times of the day, and that's, you know, those options are there, but you have to sort of have that conversation with yourself and think, okay, you know, what can I spend this month? You know, what is my marketing budget for this month? And then, you know, what is the best way to spend that? So try not to limit yourself too much to start, because then you may find that you're not getting enough traffic to see results, you know, which is a real problem. And when you're spending, you know, $2 or $3 a day on advertising, that can likely happen when you're just not getting enough traffic.
Okay. Now, I've got a little bit of confusion here. Maybe you can just sort of talk about how people, like which people are going to see your Facebook ads. We've got a couple of questions. People wondering if it has anything to do with who your friends are, or how do you pick the group of people that sees the ads?
So Facebook allows you to target your audience. So this is this definitely is a topic worth discussing, because there's a lot of confusion around it. Many of you think that if you set up a Facebook page, that by having a Facebook page and posting on it, you're going to see results from that. So what happens when you set up a Facebook page is now you have a page that will gather data, and you can post from it, and you can boost your posts and advertise your posts and use that as an advertising platform. If you want to get anything just from the page and posting to the page, first and foremost, you need people who have liked that page. Okay, people who have liked your page, they're essentially your audience. That is your list. Those are the only people that are going to see anything coming from your page when you post things. Now, unless you've got thousands and thousands of devout followers who are big fans of yours and are likely to respond to your posts, that's not going to be enough to get you any results. So when you've got your page and you're posting on your page, you're going to have to boost your post. Okay, and you can boost your post by putting a little bit of money into the exposure of that post and getting it out to a larger audience, not just the people who have liked your page. So you can boost your post and say, okay, I want to show my post, or my ad, to all of the people who've liked my page and their friends. Okay, that's one option. The other option is to select your own audience based on location, so the geography, target a very specific area within Facebook. You can target a specific age range. And Facebook will always tell you, for the amount that you're willing to spend, how many people are likely to see your post. So if you're spending $5 and you're boosting to, let's say, like all Facebook users within 25 miles of Marietta, for instance, and you want to only show your ad to people who are age 24 and up, Facebook will tell you, okay, for that amount, we are going to be showing your ad to, 1,100 to 3,000 people during that day. And those are the eyeballs, right? Those are the people that are going to see the ad, click on it, and then go to your landing page. So now that you've spent, $5 or $10 to get in front of people, you want to make sure you are making an offer in your post. Okay, so just posting information about real estate, that's not going to do it. you have to make an offer in your post. You have to give them a reason to go to your website and to request information. So we are going to go through a lot of this on Wednesday during the webinar with Blake and kind of get into the mechanics of Facebook advertising. But the big takeaway is just posting on your page is not enough. You gotta boost it, you gotta advertise it, you gotta make a compelling offer that people are going to respond to. That's how you get leads from Facebook.
Okay, so just to clarify that now, okay, so you're not doing a post, you're running ads that go into people's feed.
Yeah.
How do you target, how do you pick the group of people that is going to see that ad?
That is in the when you are setting up your campaign within Facebook. That's where you set up the targeting. That's where you pick your audience.
Okay, so you don't have to have an existing list of people that like you or that are your friends, or you can basically start and target people that have in the demographic you want that are Facebook accounts.
Oh yes, yeah. I think
so
that
in your marketplace that whatever characteristics you want. What are some of the characteristics you could target?
You could target, well, geography is always, a characteristic for sure. So you've got people in a certain area and a certain age. You can target people who are interested in real estate. I mean, you can actually exclude people who are interested in real estate, like real estate agents, which is part of the interest targeting. You can choose people based on education, income, likes, dislikes, their behaviors online. There's all sorts of targeting. You can really get very, very detailed in your target audience. And just make sure you're testing it every step of the way, because the more targeted you are, also the fewer you're getting in front of. So sometimes you can really almost be too targeted and your audience is not quite big enough. And that can definitely affect your results in a negative way. But yeah, Facebook is pretty cool. I mean, you can do some pretty neat things with the targeting.
Right. Excellent. Okay. Okay. Well, we're almost out of time here. I know I've been banging away trying to answer as many questions as I can.
Yeah, I've been hearing the keys go.
Yeah, I apologize for that. So we got a few questions asking about, so if people want to get on with the webinar with Blake, they can go to craigproctorsuccesswebsite.com. If they click on the blog link at the top of the page, I believe it's the first end in the blog, and
yep,
if you scroll down that page, there's a link there to get on the webinar. You can get a good preview. You can listen to the audio there, the interview with Blake and Christy, and you can reserve your spot to get on that webinar. And again, we'll go into a lot. I know you'll go into a lot of detail on how to get your Facebook campaigns set up and how to refine them and how to pick your target market and all of those good things on the call. Lots of good stuff there. Let's see if we got a couple more quick questions here. How do people get a hold of us? What's the best way if they've got questions that haven't been answered?
Best way, okay. Of course, you can call us. We are here, ready to take your calls. The number is 1-800-361-9527. We also will certainly, you can email me directly if you like. My email is Christie, K-R-I-S-T-I-E, @successwebsite.com. We also have our Success Web Care site, so that's successwebcare.com. These are the online, this is like the online support desk. So if you have any questions, if you're looking for some tasks or things to get done with your website, you can always submit a ticket. It's actually a good idea to log in and register on the site. That way you can see the kind of the history and the status of all of your web tickets. and that's quite handy, especially when you've got a couple of different things open. So
what's the domain name for that, Christy? SuccessWebCare.com?
Yep, SuccessWebCare.com. That's right.
Okay, and it redirects the URL there. Okay, so again, you can get your tickets there, 1-800-361-9527 if you want to call. I am going to leave the webinar open for a couple of minutes here just to try and close off the rest of the questions. So if you want to sneak in a last-minute question, by all means, let me know. I think we're out of time, Christy, so thank you very much. Again, we do this helpline internet call the second Monday of each month at 11 a.m. So we'll hope you continue to join us. If you have suggestions for future calls or questions you'd like to have answered, by all means, let us know. And again, if you would like us to give you a call, I do have a handful of people that have requested a call on a specific topic. If you want to enter those into the questions section now, just put your phone number there and what you want the call to be about, and I will get someone to call you this afternoon as soon as possible after the call. Anything else, Christy?
The only last thing I'd like to add is that I know we've got our webinar with Blake on Wednesday, but we also do our training webinars every Thursday, and this is the Jumpstart Live webinar. So, all of you should be getting those emails, but if you want to know more about how to use the Success website, how to set up campaigns, how to use the Command Center, My Leads, all that stuff, please join us every Thursday. And if you go to our Facebook page, speaking of Facebook, of course, facebook.com/SWS Jumpstart. If you like this page, then you'll be notified every week of what our topic for the webinar is. You'll be able to access the replay of the call, and that's every Thursday, 3:30 to 4:30 Eastern Time. So make sure you sign up for that. I'll put a link to this in the chat section as well here. And that's it for me.
Very good. Okay, well, thanks, Christy. As I said, I will try to answer any of these questions. If you do have any last-minute questions you want to sneak in, you probably got about 2 or 3 minutes, and hopefully we can get everyone going. So thanks everyone for joining us today. Thanks, Christy, again, and go sell some houses. Thanks a lot, and this ends today's call.